Okay, so next we're going to talk about personalization, customization. So you always want your brand to be consistent, and that should go into all your marketing for sure. But you also want to personalize and customize your marketing as much as possible. And it doesn't always have to marketing doesn't always have to be as formal or as brand specific as you might think. A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of different examples, but repetition can be boring. People don't like predictable. um, you can have the most beautiful Instagram feed in the world. I mean, gorgeous pictures, but if it's just the same thing every day, suppose you're a grocer and you just do the same a different dish every day, it gets tired, and people want something more. So you know you want to do something every day, but you don't want to just fall into the trap of plugging in the same thing over and over again. The same is true for traditional advertising as well. So it should be for a specific audience, and you still want to stay true to your brand, but you also don't want to beat people over the head with your brand. I mean, well, most of us don't want to get beaten over the head. And that's one thing that I don't like about social media, and that's automation, and that's repeating your message on every single platform that you have. That drives me nuts when people put the same thing in their e-newsletter that they put in their text message, that they put on Facebook, that they put on Twitter, that they put on Instagram. I mean, it's lazy is what it is, the one word for it, and it's counterproductive. Those platforms they all reach different audiences, and people have different expectations when it comes to it. When you get an email, you have a different expectation than when you get a text message or when you get a tweet. So you have to think about what the audience is that you're looking at. And again, I'm not for, you should definitely plan out social media or your email marketing campaign way ahead of time, but don't automate it so that it's just repetitive of the same things you've been doing over and over again. The other thing I'd like to mention is that you want to give people a point to connect, and that's about creating content, and it's difficult. It's difficult to do, and it's difficult to do for each of those different platforms, as I said, because Twitter is very different. For those of you that like Twitter or on Twitter, it's a much more aggressive platform to get eyeballs, and it's also something that you have to have a little bit of fun with to really resonate. Tons of examples. One I liked most recently was Outback Steakhouses. There was a sort of a viral rumor on Twitter that their locations formed pentagrams, and that's how they decided where their locations would be. And they picked up on it, and they made some jokes about it, and had some memes and stuff like that. And that's important because there are some businesses, a lot of businesses I know, that would just avoid that. Like, let's not talk about it, we don't want to get involved. But sometimes embracing those kind of things in that kind of platform is a good approach. But again, it's got to be tailor fit to each different platform and each different audience. And you have to understand that there are different audiences out there, and you need to treat them differently. Okay, so when we're talking about customizing, personalizing, I also think that a very important thing to do is to be interactive, and that way you can let people sort of customize their own experience. So when it comes to digital, I think it's important to have a mobile app, or if it's not the right fit for your business, at least your website to be interactive. And by that, I mean in a lot of ways. I don't just mean that it's a purchase platform, but that it's a place where people can engage for information, whatever it is that fits your business. The reason why I like apps, and I think we're starting to see maybe a little bit of a resurgence with apps that were kind of like hit popular, like everyone had to have one, and then they kind of faded away. But I think technology has kind of caught up to where they make a lot of sense. You look at Starbucks or like Panera, those apps where people can order something and then instantaneously they can pick it up there. I think obviously that's a great value to someone, and especially if time's a premium. So definitely I think you should look at an app, and it also allows you to do things in the moment that you might not be able to do with the staff that you have on hand, or it just gives you, there's a lot of flexibility you can do with apps nowadays. And especially too, I think with this move, and it's going to become increasingly so, with cashless payment, and it just makes it easier for people. And I think anything that you can do to make the experience easier and make purchases easier, the more people will buy. So that's obviously a key objective. If all you have to do is push a button and you're done. So obviously there's other tools out there that you can use to accomplish the same thing. I'm a big fan of text programs. They used to be one of the most hated things. People would hate to get texts from businesses. I don't know about you, but I personally get a lot, and I find them very informative. Whether it's an Etsy purchase that I make, or and whatever it is, and that I know, okay, my package is there. It's I like it, and and even if you have the app, like, it's a good supplement. There's good synergies between the two. So with that in mind, I really want to focus on this topic of personalized content for marketing and advertising. And the reason why I think it's good to get personal is because it creates more engagement. You get more brand awareness. The brand becomes, not just awareness, but the brand becomes more memorable. You have more memorable moments. But this all goes back to the beginning about having an effective strategy, an effective message, because without that, any content that you create is going to be sort of in the ether. It'll just be out there, and people won't know how to connect it if you can't connect it. So have your app, have your text program, your website. You want to make sure that you engage people, and you want to make sure that you do it quickly. And that's online, that's digital in general. You have a very limited amount of time to catch people's attention. I often ask businesses, and this is 100% true, they always give me the wrong answer. Now, I don't know if that's on purpose or it's an accident, but they always give me the wrong answer. Because I always ask when I work with somebody, I say, well, what's the average length that someone's on your website? And I'll hear stuff that, and I guess this is sort of the idealized, if you're invested in something and you look at it every day and you think, well, if people come here, they must look at it 5-10 minutes. But the average time, that someone looks at a website is so small. You've got, especially if they're new to the website, if it's a first time visitor and they're just kind of checking it out, you've maybe got half a minute, if you're lucky. Even, and I've seen some businesses where, you're, even with a purchase, if you have people on there for several minutes, you're lucky. It's just, it's tough to keep people engaged. And that's where having unique content and having that personalized experience is important. And I think that's where a lot of brands struggle. And I think you can learn from, your past experiences. I think you can learn from your current customer base. You can learn from customers that you want to have. You can learn from your employees. They understand what your business is and what they want out of it besides the service or the product that you have. What other supplemental information or experiences or content, anything that enriches what you do, they can be an invaluable tool to let you know. So don't do the same things over and over again, as I stated, and I'll continue to state till the end of time, across platforms or whatever outlet that you're using. And an important thing to remember when creating content, it's not about the quantity. Although you want to have quantity, you don't want to do something just once and again. You should do things with some sort of schedule and regularity, even if to other people they don't realize that there is some sort of regularity to it. But not about quantity, it's always about quality. If you produce quality content, people will be engaged. And that's why I think you should focus more on inbound, not outbound marketing. This goes back to using the right tools effectively. As I mentioned in part 1, it's about finding the right platforms for you and for your business. And if you do, then content marketing becomes easy because you can identify who your customers are on those platforms, what's popular with them. It's a much more effective means than traditional, push marketing. And it's common sense. What's more effective? When you see an ad or when you see something that has to maybe do with a product or a service but is funny or interesting or cute or whatever it is, but not something that, Joe's Cafe special today. That it's not. Yeah, maybe that's how things used to work, and to some degree, that can still be somewhat effective. But if you're looking for, as we talked about before, a strategy and a long-term goal, you should be engaged with your customers, and they should be engaged with you on digital platforms and digitally, and they'll let you know what they like and what they don't. So it's important for you as a business to make sure that they know where you are so they can find you if they occupy the same space. So point them to your website, point them to an app, point them to your social media accounts. Engage them with trending topics of the day that maybe relate or maybe that don't even relate to your business. It's about your brand's visibility and about thinking creatively about how you can take advantage of things that are happening around you or in your industry or outside your industry that are just maybe just trending online, something that's viral. Although I talk about viral in some other videos, that shouldn't be the goal. It's about being in tune with your customers and that, as I always mention, that in the moment experience. And this also goes back to having a strategy, because if you have a strategy, you won't have as many poor user experiences in your digital network. So to summarize, make the content relevant, make it timely, make it engaging. Tell your business's story. It's got a story. You've got a narrative, and use your customers, use your staff. You do behind the scenes, provide insights. Have conversations with people. Something that I think that gets lost a lot is that, and I find this especially true in smaller businesses, is that you have such an asset with whether you've got 5 employees or 100 employees, that there are all those personal connections, and that a lot of your customers have personal connections with the people in your business, and they know those people. So when they see those people on your website or on your social media, that makes a connection for them. When it's just sort of a faceless, or images taken from iStock that just people, like, it doesn't resonate the same way it does when you have those assets there for you to use. And people care about your employees, people care about your business. If you're a local business, especially, that's why you're in business. Obviously people appreciate what you do or the product or service that you provide. So leverage those assets that you have and let people know, because that's important to your narrative and to your story. So the other thing to keep in mind when you're talking with your audience is that it's a conversation. Don't talk at them. Don't push stuff at them, which is how marketing has been in the past. You want to invite their opinion in, and I know sometimes that's tough because you might have an idea of what you think is best, or people in your company of what they think is best, but you can get a lot of insight from people from outside, and I think this is true in a lot of aspects of business and life in general. So listen to what people are saying, what people are telling you, and it's good to set aside a time for you as a business or your marketing team or your executive team to sit down and discuss that kind of customer feedback, especially when it comes to marketing. This is so important. And besides doing that, you want to decide what and how you're going to take that information, and do you incorporate that into your marketing strategy, or do you discount it? And if you do, for what reasons? Because that's valuable analytical data that you can use as to if something's working or if something isn't. So you should take that kind of feedback, and you should really take it to heart. The last thing I'll say about customizing and personalizing your business, and that's when I mean that, I mean your business is what we're customizing and personalizing, not to the individual persons that are out there, is that make sure, besides the content, use video, use photographs, use infographics, use any, whatever your business is, use those kind of multimedia tools, because that's something that will appeal to people more. There's research out there that it appeals much more than just written text. So and one final thing that I would say about creating this personalized, customized experience through content marketing is that you should make sure that everyone in your organization that's part of it, well, everyone should, but definitely everyone that's part of the messaging and narrative, that they understand what the tone is, what you're trying to do behind different ads that you're doing, what audiences you're trying to reach, what information you're trying to share, what it means for your broader mission as an organization. Make sure that people understand that, because you don't want to have, and I've seen this before, because you can have a lot of hands in the cookie jar that that want to make their contributions, and you want to make sure that messaging, even though we're trying to really focus that message and refine it to specific audiences, we still want to make sure that brand message is authentic and consistent with what we've been trying to do. Thanks for watching part 2 of whatever it is. No, it's digital marketing strategy. I'm Matt. Thank you for watching. Share or comment. I will be working on part 3, where we'll talk about a variety of things to do with digital marketing strategy.